You can have a seat. You all can have a seat. Thank you. Mr. Tisdale's present, all counsel present. The jury's outside the court. Okay, I'm sorry for the interruption. Stay ready to have the jury come back in?
Yes, sir.
Defense ready to have them come in? Okay, we'll push ahead till about 5 and call it a day. Okay, Mr. Vaughn, I'm ready when you are.
All stand, please.
Okay, thank you all for bearing with us. We appreciate your attention.
Deputy, I think where we left off, I was asking you about if you had exited your car and had your firearm drawn.
That's correct.
When, at that point, did you know that did you have an idea that one of your fellow deputies had been shot?
Yes, I did.
And as he was approaching you in his car, in your mind, would you have had the authority to shoot at him at that point?
Yes.
And why didn't you?
As I said, I was in fear of the civilians in the background. It was not a viable situation for me to take a shot at that point.
And he went past you?
Correct.
He was going west on Glenview?
At that point, yes.
What did you do?
I re-entered my car, turned around, and pursued westbound right after him.
When you got, does Glenview intersect with South 7th?
Yes.
And it dead ends there, right?
It does. Comes to it.
Was there another law enforcement vehicle approaching or right at the corner of Glenview and 7th Street when the defendant was heading that way ahead of you?
Yes, that's correct.
And who was that?
That is Deputy Sarvis.
And what happened when the defendant got to the end of Glenview at 7th?
Deputy Sarvis joined in the pursuit as the suspect turned to the north once again on South 7th Street. So he made a right turn coming off of Glenview, going on to South 7th, going north.
Did you continue, get in behind Deputy Sarvis and continue chasing the defendant?
Yes.
And was Deputy Sarvis also in a marked vehicle?
Identical to my own.
And were his lights and sirens on as well?
Yes, they were.
And did you continue in that pursuit for some time as you guys went through the neighborhood?
We did.
Were you real clear at the time as to what street y'all were on and where you were?
No, we went over the course of the neighborhood, Silver Lake Estates, as it's called. We went through various side streets and through a field at one point.
Do you recall being behind a church at one point?
I do.
Did the chase eventually take you and Deputy Sarvis out onto Oleander?
It did, ultimately.
Beyond just the vehicle you were in and the one Deputy Sarvis was in, were there other vehicles responding to the area and joining in on the pursuit?
Yes, that's true.
On Oleander, what happened?
On Oleander, as the suspect vehicle came out on Oleander, that's when Deputy Sarvis moved in to initiate a pit maneuver and ultimately there was a collision involving another car, and we ended up taking him into custody at that point after
What's the PET maneuver?
the precision immobilization technique. It was a contact on contact, the two vehicles, one being the patrol car, the other being the suspect car, thereby spinning it out of control. In this case, however, there was another northbound motorist, I think, that got involved, as I recall. Ultimately, though, the suspect's car was, the impact caused the suspect's car to veer off the road altogether near the intersection of DeGiorgio and Oleander, which is the approximate location where we actually took him into custody.
Okay. What happened as his car came to a rest?
He got out, and it looked as though he was going to run on foot, although we really didn't give him much of a chance to do so because we converged on him so quickly.
What did he do?
He got out of the car, he took a few steps, and then he was guided to the ground. Verbal commands were issued, obviously, and then we secured him.
Did you have him show you his hands?
Yes.
And then you had him get on the ground?
Yes.
Did he say anything?
He did.
What did he say?
He said, "Don't kill me."
Were there any other people inside his car?
No one else was in his car.
I'll show you a photograph here, State's Exhibit 25 for identification. Did you approach his car during the time that you were taking him into custody?
I did.
And did you look in the window?
I did.
Does this picture show what you could see through the window of his car?
It does.
And does that fairly and accurately depict the way the passenger side floorboard of the defendant's car looked when you looked in the window?
It absolutely does.
All right. At this time, the State would seek to admit State's 25.
Objection for dire from the defense.
I don't have an objection to that.
That objection be admitted as State's 25 in evidence.
Judge, at this time, we'd like to publish that photograph and a couple of others.
Yes, sir.
Deputy, if you could please step down. Yeah. Show you. Actually, that looked like that State's Exhibit 7. Do you recognize the vehicle there depicted in State 7?
I do.
And is that the car that you were chasing that day?
That is the car.
And that's the car the defendant was driving as you chased it?
That's the one.
All right. I'm going to ask you to take a look at State's Exhibit 25. And what do we see here in State's 25?
You see the interior of the car that was driven by the defendant as well as the pistol.
And if you could you go ahead and step up closer there and show the members of the jury what you're talking about. We're going to zoom it in a little bit for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And the firearm was on the passenger floorboard?
That's correct.
We can put the lights back on. Yeah, we do that now. I'm going to have you step over now to the board here. Your Honor, I'm going to use the screen again in just a moment.
Yes, sir.
Looking here at State's Exhibit 8, could you take a second to orient yourself, and then I'll move over here and I'll let you start there. There's a blue pen here for you, and we have here on the legend, right? Blue, that's your name, right?
That's correct.
Okay, very good. So, start out with, is this the Silver Lake Estates area of San Luis County?
That's correct.
All right, and although it's not all here, this covers a good portion of it, right?
Correct.
Okay. So if you could point out, first of all, for the members of the jury, where you started out, where you were doing a traffic stop when you heard this call?
Just off the map here to the south, on Farmers Market, would be down here, this cross street, at the far southern end of the Silver Lake Estates neighborhood. I was just to the east of South 7th Street on Farmers Market Road.
And Farmers Market goes between US 1 and South 7th?
That's correct.
What did you do when you said you gave back the person's ID or whatever that you were talking to? And what did you do?
I drove northbound South 7th Street and we saw the suspect vehicle pull out in front of me.
All right, so I'll have you draw that on there, please, if you could. Using the blue marker, draw up South 7th Street, the route you traveled. Now, in that area where you just stopped, is that where the defendant came out in front of you off of Canner?
Right.
Okay. If you could, just put a little X there to mark that spot, and then continue on. You said you went, that's where you got in behind him?
Right, and we pursued northbound from this point on South 7th. We made a right turn to go east on Glenview. Came to US 1.
All right. And is that where you stopped, where you described getting out of your car?
That's right.
All right. So you put an X there for that location as well, right at the corner of US 1 and Glenview. Okay. Now, where were the civilians that you were concerned about that was the reason you didn't fire?
There was traffic lined up. This would have been southbound motorists right here. There were northbound motorists going this way. Traffic was slow. It was congested. It was typical weekday morning traffic.
What did you do next?
Just touching on what we spoke about earlier, I did get out of my car, assess the tactical threat that we had at that point as he made his U-turn, and then I opted, as I said before, to get in my car and make the same U-turn and pursue now westbound down Glenview.
Go ahead and draw that.
So he made his northbound turn.
All right, and at that point, you were now behind Deputy Sarvis as well?
Correct.
All right, go ahead and draw the rest of it on there. And tell the folks where you went.
Deputy Sarvis joined in about this point as the suspect fled now northbound on South 7th. You'll see here that it makes a loop around on Dubin. We came all the way back south and then turned again on Canner.
Okay? And you now, just so we'll have the ink here to preserve it for the record, but you're now heading west on Canner?
That's correct.
All right, go ahead.
Went west on Canner, and as we discussed earlier, we ended up going through, my apologies, we ended up going through this field, and then my recollection from that point is we made a turn to the south on Lake at that point.
Fair to say from this point where you're behind the church, from that point on, the exact direction of travel is a little foggy for you.
Right.
All right. Do you see on this map the location where the defendant's car came to a rest?
Yes.
Okay. And is that depicted here where this red car is?
It was accurately depicted right there.
Okay. And that's where you took him into custody?
Right.
All right. Did you physically take him into custody? Was he put in your car?
Yes.
Okay. I'll take the marker back, and then we'll come back over here to the screen. I'm going to show you states. States Exhibit 3. Is that the person that that you identified here in court that was driving the red car?
That is the defendant, yes.
And you see there in States 3 that he's got some grass and whatnot on his T-shirt. What is that from?
That is likely from where we guided him to the ground at the intersection of DeGiorgio and Oleander. It was a grassy area off the road there. So that is probably indicative of the grass that got on him from when he was proned out.
Well, he didn't get it in the back seat of your car, right?
Correct.
And the defendant, you transported him to the sheriff's office?
I did.
And when you, did you take him and place him in a room there at the sheriff's office?
Yes.
Did you take his, did you ask him for, and did he give you, you took his clothes?
I did.
And did the defendant say anything to you when you took his clothes?
He did.
What did he say?
He looked at me and he said, "Aren't you the one that was chasing me?"
No other questions?
Thank you. Mr. Glenn?
Good afternoon, Deputy.
Good afternoon.
State 25. You told us that something that you witnessed, is that correct?
That's correct.
When did you witness this?
At the scene.
At the thing
Correct.
when the crash took place?
Correct. About the time of his apprehension, yes.
You took my client in the custody, is that correct?
I did.
You cuffed on him?
Right.
Okay. Is that at the time you looked in the car?
Somewhere during that period of time, yes.
Okay. You're certain that that's what you saw at that time?
Correct.
Now, the deputy, were you part of an after-action investigation in this case? Do you know what I'm talking about? Were you part of an after-action investigation? Meaning, after this was all done, were you interviewed by a fellow detective to find out what you knew?
Yes, absolutely.
You remember that?
I do.
And it happened on February 28, 2013.
It did.
Timing-wise, approximately 1 o'clock in the afternoon, does that sound right?
Approximately.
Okay. And in this particular instance, it was Detective Brett Wilkes that interviewed you.
Correct.
All right. And he asked you questions that very simply about what you saw and did.
Correct.
All right. Now, gentlemen, page 3, lines 108 to 113. I'd just like you to take a look at this and read it to yourself, Deputy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy, the question Detective Wilkes asked you was, did you see anything in the vehicle that was, as far as the firearm or anything illegal substance or anything like that? Your response was, I didn't personally because I was in control of his body.
Correct. That's what I said on that date.
Nothing further.
State have any redirect?
No redirect.
Is he released, or do y'all need him to stay in it?
Be released, yes.
Okay. Thank you, officer, very much. You're free to go. You're welcome to stay, of course, if you wish. You will call your next witness, please.
Yes, sir. Deputy Mark Sarvis, please.
Deputy, up here, please. Deputy standing here facing the Madam Clerk, please raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm that evidence you're about to be able to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Just raise your, just stay there. He's over there.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Hi, I'm Mark Sarvis with the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Department.
If you can spell your last name for us.
S-A-R-V as in Victor, I-S.
And Deputy Sarvis, how long have you been with the Sheriff's Office?
Since August 17th of 1998.
And during your time with the Sheriff's Office, have you had various assignments?
Yes, I have. I started at the jail back in 98, and then May 1st of 2000, I transferred out to Road Patrol.
And since that time, you've been a Road Patrol deputy?
I was in Road Patrol up until 2003. 2003 to 4, I was in School Resource, and then I came back out to Road Patrol.
And was that your assignment on February 28th of 2013?
Yes, it was.
Now, Were you working that morning?
Yes, I was.
And how were you assigned?
I was assigned to Zone 7, which is from Virginia Ave to Weatherby Road, and I was on patrol to answer calls for service and patrol the area.
And that's a good thing to point out. In your zone, if a call came out in your zone, you would be dispatched to it.
Correct.
And but you're not always within the boundaries of a particular zone.
No, sometimes we'll go over to the other zone if they need help or assistance in that. If they're on a call, we'll back them up, or they'll back us up in our zones from zone to zone.
And who was your supervisor that day?
Sergeant Morales.
Had y'all met that morning as a group, the guys under Sergeant Morales, around 8:30 in the morning?
Yes, we did.
And what was the purpose of that meeting?
We were trying to go over some things. We were having a lot of problems in this area with a lot of burglaries, car burglaries, auto vandalisms, people just doing things in that neighborhood. And the residents were complaining that nothing was getting done, and we wanted to see if we could be proactive and find out who's doing all the crimes in that area.
And what was the way y'all were going to work that morning?
We were going to do traffic enforcement, stop people for minor traffic violations, see who we can find out who lives in that area, who's supposed to be in that area, who doesn't live in that area, what they're doing in that area if they don't belong in there.
And did you do that morning prior to this incident happening?
Yes, I did.
Where were you when you learned that there was something going on with Sergeant Morales?
I was on a traffic stop at the intersection of Vernon and Revels for a window tint violation.
And that's exactly the sort of minor thing that y'all were making stops for that morning?
Yes, it was.
And when you were making that stop, did anyone come to back you up?
Yes, Deputy Sotomayor came. He was my backup deputy.
Now, if you could explain to the members of the jury what happened with Deputy Sotomayor that called your attention to the situation?
He was my backup. He was on Channel 1. I was on Channel 2 as I was running the driver to see if they had a valid license or any warrants or wants for them.
Okay. Explain that to the members of the jury. The Sheriff's Office has a number of channels that you work on?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and we're talking about channels on your radio?
Correct.
Okay, so what normally takes place on Channel 1?
Channel 1 is when we do a traffic stop or we get dispatched, we use that.
That's the main channel?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so tell them about what Channel 2 would be used for and give them an example.
Channel 2 is used for running somebody, run a tag, VIN verifications, anything that we don't want to do that we don't want to tie up the main channel, because the main channel is for being dispatched and responding back. Channel 2 is our off channel that we go back and forth to gather our information.
So in this situation, you were on Channel 2, why?
Yes, because I was running the driver to make sure that she had a valid license and wasn't wanted.
And what are the mechanics of that? You call out the stop on Channel 1?
Yeah, I advise my dispatch I'm doing a 1050. They respond back, go ahead, and I advise them my location, the tag, vehicle description.
Then what happened?
They respond back 10-4. And then they'll do a check on us, and then I'll advise them that I'm going to Channel 2.
And did you do that that morning with the window tint stop you were making?
Yes, I did.
What did Sotomayor do to alert you that there was something going on that he learned on Channel 1?
He advised me that the Sarge was in a chase just a street over, and if I was okay, he was going to go over there and help and assist him with that.
And what did you say?
I told him that's fine. I said I'll be done here in just a second. I'm going to go back and give the lady her license back and give her a warning and have a nice day.
And was that typical of the kind of stops that you were making that morning? Minor violation, you'd write a warning and get the person's information?
Yes.
Kind of see what they were doing in the neighborhood, whether they lived there or not?
Yes, and see if they knew anybody that was supposed to not be there, if they lived there, if they've seen anything, and just inquire.
All right. So after did you finish up with that lady and head to help?
Yes, I did.
What did you do as far as your radio once you finished with her?
I advised Channel 1 that I was en route over to where the pursuit was going, and I left from Burners and Rebels.
After you were in the car, did you hear any other transmissions relating to the situation with Sergeant Morales?
Yes, when I got to Rebels and Oleander, I had heard Shots fired, sergeant's down.
And did you have a description that you were looking for based on that information?
Yes, we had a black male driving a red vehicle, had fled the area.
And what did you do, where did you go from the point of Rebels and Oleander when you heard that?
I came down Oleander to King Orange, drove down King Orange, saw 2 cars down on Naylor, went up one more street, came down Muir, made a left on Muir, came down to Canner. At the intersection of Canner, there was a lady directed me to go to the east, at which time I made a right onto Canner and came up to South 7th Street.
Let me stop you there. You said just a citizen standing on the side of the road?
Yes,
Kind of pointing? They went that way?
yes.
All right. So what'd you do?
I made a right onto Canner, went down to South 7th Street, and then I made a left onto 7th Street, at which time Glenview is right up the road from there. I noticed a whole bunch of dust flying down the road. And I'm sitting there just prior to the intersection of 7th and Glenview when a red Toyota comes out in front of me with a black male driver driving about 10 feet away from me, looks at me, and he's just laughing like it's a game.
Objection as to speculation and characterization.
I'll sustain the last comment. With regard to the last comment.
As far as the person that you saw laughing, did you get a good look at him?
Yes, I did.
Do you see him here in court today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please point to him and describe him here in court so that we know who you're talking about?
He's the gentleman, second one there, with the clean haircut. It's like a paisley tie, purplish color with a white shirt, gray suit.
The record reflect, Your Honor, that he has pointed to and described the defendant here in court.
Yes, sir.
Did you pursue the defendant after he drove past you laughing?
Yes, I did.
And where did you pursue him?
We went down 7th Street, which makes a U-turn into Dubin Terrace, which is a dirt road. I began following him. A lot of dust was kicked up, and all I kept seeing was his brake lights. We come out to Canner. He makes a right. I follow in behind him. We go back up to Naylor. He makes a left onto Naylor, and then makes an immediate right through the field. And then I began following him through the field until we get to Westlake. And once we get onto Westlake, he makes a left, and I begin following him all the way down to the end at King Orange.
Now, how close were you to the defendant's vehicle after you pulled in behind him? Were you very close? Was he getting out ahead of you? What was the situation?
We were probably about a car to 2 car lengths in between each other.
And it varied, certainly.
Yes.
As you got to the place where Westlake dead ends into, or does it dead into King Orange?
Yes, it does.
When you got to that place, what happened?
I rammed him.
What happened? Which way did the defendant go after you rammed him?
He made a right on the King Orange.
And then what happened?
I rammed him again.
What happened next?
We come up to the intersection of Oleander and King Orange. He goes to make a right. I hit him again, staying on his bumper. As we turn onto Oleander, I was able to pull off the bumper and do a pit maneuver.
Describe for the members of the jury what the pit maneuver is.
That's where we line up. We take our bumper with their rear quarter panel, and we tap them and apply pressure and turn, causing their car to spin and go out of control.
And were you able to eventually get in a position to do the pit maneuver?
Yes, I was.
And what happened?
I was able to pit him, causing his car to spin to the left, at which time another car coming down on Oleander T-boned him right between the front and rear passenger doors.
What did you do?
I pulled into the little complex right there. I believe it's a triplex, and I was able to park my car next to a white Cadillac that was there in that lot.
And what was the significance of parking next to the Cadillac?
It gave me cover because I saw the other units were behind me, and he had gotten out, and when he first got out, he made a motion like he was going to run, and my concern was I need to have some type of cover if these guys are going to start shooting at him, and I figured having the Cadillac engine block would give me good protection.
Did you see the other deputies take him into custody?
Yes, I did.
How many times did you ram the defendant during this chase?
3 times.
And then the 4th time your car made contact with him was to do the pit maneuver?
Yes, it was.
Now, when you say you rammed him, what part of your car do you use to ram him?
I used my push bumper.
And that's on the front of your car?
Yes, it is.
Was yours collected that day?
Yes, it was.
And it was removed from your car?
Yes, it was.
I'm going to show you what is marked as State's Exhibit 35. You recognize first the outside marking on this exhibit?
Yes.
All right, and I'm going to ask you, we're going to get a pair of scissors here and to ask you to take a look at the contents. This states 35, your push bar.
Yes.
All right. And that's the one that was collected from your car on February 28th of 2013?
Yes.
At this time, the state seeks to admit states 35, the push bar.
You object? Objection be admitted, states 35 in evidence.
Let's not tear that. Your Honor, with the use of this cart here, the deputy and I are going to publish that. Move this up a little closer. Don't want to get too close, I don't think I'll be able to see it, but. All right, now there's some, on States 35 here, there's some other tape and paper, and I'm going to ask you to remove that so the folks can see what that's protecting. Need the scissors again? All right, Deputy, let's start with explaining how this would be oriented on the front of your car.
This is attached right in the front of the center. You've got your front grill right here where the hood release and latches, and then it's attached right to the frame.
All right, and what's the condition of your push bar here as we look at it?
It's bent on this side from where I rammed them.
And if can everyone see on the back row? All right, and so, all right, so go ahead and I'll hold this up for a second. Don't leave me hanging here too long, and show the folks what you're talking about.
Right down here at this bottom side, you can see it's bent in.
Okay, and then there's this area up here that we had untaped there. What is?
The red transfer paint from his rear bumper.
And you struck his bumper with this push bar how many times that day?
3 times.
And then the last time you hit his car, the 4th time was not a ram, but the pit maneuver?
Correct.
And that would have touched just...
My right front turn signal area.
And relative to the ramming, relatively lightly?
Correct.
Okay. All right. You can return to your seat, Deputy. Thank you. Actually, I sat you down too soon. If you could, go ahead and step over here to the... Go ahead and step over here to State's Exhibit 8. And let's see, looks like your color is red. Is that right? Yep. All right, I'm going to hand you a red marker. If you could, let's first tell the folks again. Is it too close? And remember, you and I both remind each other not to get in their way so they can see it. Let's start with describing where the window tent traffic stop was taking place.
It would be down here. This is actually North Lake here, which comes down here to Vernon Street. And then Rebels runs parallel east and west.
All right, so you were on Rebels.
Correct.
You said that you went from Rebels to Oleander. All right, so you traveled up Oleander.
Correct.
All right, so eventually we're going to be on Oleander here, correct?
Correct.
All right, so go ahead and draw the route you took. All right, you're showing where you turn right onto King Orange?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier that you looked down Naylor, and you saw a couple of cars down there?
Correct. There's all two SWAT cars down there to the right.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Officer, let me have you speak up so we can hear you.
I saw two.
I know y'all can hear each other, but speak up.
Yeah, the problem is they can hear us, but the microphones are all on this side of the wall, so just speak up a little bit, and they'll catch you. Okay, so you were saying you looked down, you saw the two squad cars on Naylor?
Yes, I did.
All right, go ahead.
I came down to Mira, made a right on Mira, came all the way down to the end, and this is where the lady flagged me down and was pointing to go down towards the east.
All right, and is that what you did?
Yes, I did.
Where did you go?
I came down here to South 7th Street, and then I went north to Glenview where I stopped right here, and that's when I seen the dust coming down here on Glenview. And right here is where I first encountered it.
All right, so put an X where you saw the defendant laughing at you. All right, then what happened?
We continued north, came around Dubin, came back down to Canner, made a right onto Canner.
Now let me stop you right there as you're going along Canner. Were other deputies involved in this chase?
Yes.
How many, or if you know, were behind you as you went through the neighborhood?
There was one that I recall. I don't know if there was any other ones behind him because I'm not looking behind him. I'm more focused on what's in front of me and who I'm chasing.
So at least one other deputy behind you, and do you know who it was?
I don't know.
Okay. And as you were traveling, you were telling us you were traveling down Canner and you'd stopped to tell him something else and I interrupted you. So what happened next?
We came down Canner, made a left onto Naylor, and then we cut through the field here, came out the west leg, made a left, came all the way down here to King Orange where he went to slow down and I accelerated, ramming him the first time.
All right. Two things about that. What's this structure here?
That was a church with a little daycare off back.
Okay. And then down here at the end of where you stopped, is that the point where you rammed the defendant for the first time?
Yes.
If you could write a 1 there so that we know, maybe circle it so we can see it. All right. That's the first time you rammed him. What happened next?
We then make a right back onto King Orange. We come up here, he goes to slow down again. This is where I ram him again.
All right. That's the second time?
Yes.
We'll put a 2 there, please.
And then we come out onto the roadway. I hit him again for a third time, right here.
Okay. Please mark that with a 3.
And then as we continue, I was able to hit him right here.
Okay, and just put, why don't you put an X there for the pit. And is this, where this cutout red car is pushed in here with a push pin, is that the location that his car came to arrest?
Correct, because there was a telephone pole right there with the fence on the other side.
Now, a couple of things about this area of the map we're looking at. Is there a business right in this area that became relevant to you in this case?
I believe it's this one right there, I believe, Amerigas.
Okay. And you mentioned where you park behind a car in a parking lot.
Right.
Down here, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I came down right here and parked right here.
Okay, and you put a small mark there where you were parked. All right, you can return to your seat. Thank you. Show you State's Exhibit 26. You recognize the exhibit here as State's 26?
Yes, it's a CD with my initials and ID number on it.
Okay. And did you initial that after reviewing the disc?
Yes, I did.
And what is on the disc?
It's a video of the me coming out off of King Orange on his bumper, and then doing the pit, and him being taken into custody
And where'd the video come from?
from, I believe it's called Amerigas.
And does it fairly and accurately represent what took place there on Oleander that day?
Yes.
At this time, the state seeks to admit Stage 26, the video. Okay.
If the objection be admitted, it states 26 in evidence.
Deputy, Your Honor, we're going to publish that this time? Sure. Deputy, States 31. I'm sorry. States 26. It's about the 31-minute mark, so at 9:31 that morning. Is that when this took place?
Yes.
Now, as Mr. Backadall is orienting or moving the counter, let me orient the folks on the jury. What is this road here going across?
That's the Giorgio, which runs east and west.
Okay, I'm sorry. The road, the main road here, in the
Oleander.
it's going all the way across the screen. Is that Oleander?
Yes.
And this road here,
That's King Orange,
and this road here.
the Giorgio.
Okay. So where the jurors should be looking is at King Orange and Oleander,
Yes.
and are they going to see the defendant's car and your car come out?
Yes.
All right. Go ahead and speak up when you see it pull out.
That's us right there.
Is that now the officers having to get on the ground and taking him into custody?
Yes, it is.
And who's that running up?
That's myself coming to assist them.
As we have it there paused, as you can see, there's a number of cars with lights going in the kind of in the middle of the screen under the time, right?
Yes.
All right. So as you said, you didn't know how many were behind you, but there's more than one, right?
Yes.
Okay. And certainly a number of deputies ran over before you were able to get over there from your location, right?
That is correct.
And we're going to have one more thing to publish here. We're going to have pull up states. All right, States Exhibit 2 on the screen, please. All right, Deputy, do you recognize that person there pictured in States Exhibit 2?
Yes, that's the gentleman that we took into custody that day.
Same fellow you identified today?
Yes, it is.
Same fellow that led you on a chase?
Yes, it is.
Same fellow that laughed at you as you went by?
Yes, it is.
No other questions?
Answer when you're ready.
Hey, Deputy Sarvis.
Hi, how are you?
Good. You're not related at all to Eriese Tisdale, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I'm over here.
Yes, I know.
Okay, all right. You aren't friends with Eriese Tisdale.
No, I'm not.
You've never hung out with him in any type of a social setting of any kind.
No, I have not.
You didn't know him until you started crashing into his car that day, right?
Correct.
No other questions?
State any redirect.
No redress.
Thank you all. Thank you, officer. You can step down. Okay with the defense to release him?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. There you go. You're welcome to stay if you wish. Okay. Would you all call your next witness, please?
Your Honor, at this time, the state would recall Lieutenant Kevin Dietrich.
Okay. Thanks for bearing with us. You're under the same oath that we administered to you earlier. Okay?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Please just reintroduce yourself, excuse me, the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Lieutenant Kevin Dietrich, St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, we spoke with you, was it yesterday or?
Earlier this morning.
Was it this morning?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I want to take you back to February 28, 2013. We know that you were the watch commander. Is that what your title would have been?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the morning of February 28, 2013, 9:30 in the morning, where would you have been within St. Lucie County?
I was in the area of 23rd and Okeechobee, 23rd Street in Okeechobee.
Okay, and what were you doing? Were you working?
I was assigned to watch commander.
Okay, and who were you with at that time?
I was with Captain Thompson.
All right, and what were you all doing?
We were having a cup of coffee, discussing common mission.
All right, and as you are together speaking, he is your superior, I take it?
He was the road patrol commander at the time.
All right. Do you guys have radios wherever you were so that you can monitor the events as they're transpiring in the county?
I had my radio on, yes, sir.
Okay. And as you're monitoring your radio, are you hearing of activity associated with the enforcement program we talked about in Silver Lakes?
Right. We had briefly talked about that, and I had heard Sergeant Morales on the radio, and I took my radio out of the holder and I put it up on the table.
Okay. But other than Sergeant Morales, before you hear Sergeant Morales on the radio, are you hearing other officers go out, what I guess we all now know to be a 1050, making traffic stops?
The first recognition that I heard that it was going on was the Sergeant Morales' traffic stop.
So you're monitoring that, you hear Sergeant Morales go 1050 at some point in time?
At some
Do you hear Sergeant Morales announce over the radio? First of all, without having to play the dispatch tape again, have you had an opportunity to review that?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay, and does it truly and accurately depict what you heard over the radio the morning of Sergeant Morales' death?
Yes, it is.
All right. So at some point in time, do you hear Sergeant Morales indicate that the suspect that he had attempted to conduct a traffic stop on is fleeing?
Yes, I did. It was kind of broken up as we were also engaged in conversation, but I was listening to the radio.
So next to you there, if I could get you to step down for a moment, that State's Exhibit 8, which has been described as kind of a partial aerial photograph of the Silver Lakes area, correct?
Yes, sir.
So where would you and Captain Thompson have been in relationship to this photograph at the time you hear the call come out?
This being north, we were up in North Fort Pierce, 2 to 3 miles to the northwest of there.
Okay, so now as soon as you hear Sergeant Morales call out that there's somebody fleeing from him, what do you do?
I mentioned to the captain and we got to get going, so we left the restaurant and headed that direction of the patrol car.
And I mean no disrespect by this, but it's probably not very common that people with bars on their shoulders go back up other officers on routine traffic stops. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Okay. What was it about this that caused you to head down south to that area?
The tone of his voice you could hear, and then the lack of communication after that.
Okay.
Normal.
All right. When you got to as you're proceeding to that area,
Again, understanding you've had an opportunity to listen to the dispatch tape, what do you hear that's further gives you concern that you've got real issues down here in this area?
Well, the silence, and then the fact that there's a deputy coming on saying that the sergeant is down.
Okay. So you're talking about, did you hear the initial radio dispatch from Detective Bennett, then Deputy Bennett, that there are shots fired?
Yeah.
Okay, can we assume that you're now responding with a greater degree of urgency even than just the initial chase?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and now you're hearing that the sergeant, that basically Bennett's calling out saying, give me an ambulance, something to that effect, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where are you, to the best, I know this is a while ago and it's a traumatic situation, but where would you estimate you are at that time?
I came down 25th Street and down Virginia Avenue, and then I went south on Sunrise, because I knew there was also a vehicle pursuit going on at that time, so I was trying to figure out where they may be going. Somewhere on Edwards Road and south on Oleander, somewhere in that area.
We hear at some point in time in the course of the dispatch reporting, a command is given, hit him if he shot the Sarge or something to that effect. Who's issuing that command?
I issued it. It was actually ramming the vehicle.
Okay.
And,
now, as you're responding then, are you continually monitoring the chase?
I am.
Okay. Where do you go first? Where is the first location you go to?
The captain was behind me, so I went to where Deputy Bennett was at.
All right.
Because prior to me getting there, they had secured the other location. So I went down Oleander to Canner.
Okay. And I can't remember if I got you a pen. I did. You're going to be purple. All right. So let's start where you could on this map. And just utilizing that pen, show us how it is you ended up, where you went. Because there's some confusion where you initially went as well, correct?
Right.
Okay.
It was.
All right.
The information I'd gotten in my own mind was that it was occurring on Mueller Drive.
I got you.
So I came down Oleander to Canner.
So you get here and you say you see cars here?
I see the cars down the road, about halfway down the road, with the lights on, but I wasn't sure if there was a more significant scene over on Mira, because with the conversation and me driving, there's some audio exclusions you go through, so I was assuming it was still on Mira. I drove to Mira.
Keep your pen going, your purple pen. So you passed the actual scene of the shooting.
I slowed, and I passed, I looked, I drove to Mira, there was nothing there, and I backed up to Naylor, and I drove southbound.
Okay. Now, what is your vehicle a marked unit?
It was a white Crown Victoria at the time.
Okay.
Unmarked.
All right, you can go ahead and take your seat. All right, so you've got us now coming down south, Naylor. Tell us the scene that you're observing. What are you seeing there on Naylor?
Two patrol cars facing northbound. Sergeant Morales' car was the first vehicle as I'm approaching facing northbound, closest to the west shoulder, which would be the opposite direction where it really should be. It should be on the east side. But it was facing northbound on the west side with the door open.
Okay. Is there another, you indicated there are two patrol cars, correct?
There are.
Do you see a deputy associated with that second patrol car?
Deputy Bennett's patrol car was behind Sergeant Morales' to the south of that, and Deputy Bennett was on the driver's side of Sergeant Morales' car.
Okay. And did you approach Sergeant Morales' car?
I did. I pulled up on the west shoulder, on the grass shoulder, where the door was open, and and I opened my door up almost just past his so I could look in. I could see Deputy Bennett kind of distraught, standing and pacing back and forth on the driver's side towards the back quarter panel of the patrol car of Sergeant Morales. I could see Sergeant Morales in the patrol car.
All right, and can you describe the condition of Sergeant Morales? That is, where was he in the car and how he was positioned in the car?
He was still sitting in the driver's seat. His left leg was outside. His right foot was down in the brake pedal compartment. His left arm was to his side, and he was leaning back to his right towards the center console with his head tilted back.
Obviously, at that point in time, very dead, correct?
Yes, sir.
I mean, no signs of life.
No signs of life.
Okay. Now, we've talked with Detective Wentz about the uniform and the weapons issued by your agency and so forth. As you looked into the car, could you tell whether or not Sergeant Morales had his duty belt on?
He did have his duty belt on.
Okay, and do you know what side of his body Sergeant Morales wore his firearm on?
Right side.
Okay, and so as you're looking into the car with Sergeant Morales leaning over, were you able to see his firearm?
I couldn't at that position.
Okay, well, was it in his hand?
No, it was not.
Was it laying on the floor outside of his car?
No, sir.
Was it laying on the floor inside of his car?
No, sir.
Okay, so as you approached that car, you didn't see a firearm of any type, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, we hear Bennett calling out, send rescue. Fair to say that within a very short period of time, fire rescue's on scene?
They did arrive on scene.
And are you present when the members of the St. Lucie County Fire Rescue Department arrive?
I was standing right beside him.
And are you present when they remove Sergeant Morales' body from the driver's seat of his car?
I was.
And tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where his gun was then.
It was in his holster, secured in his holster.
And what does that mean?
That means that it was still properly secured in there as if he came to duty that day.
Did you bring your weapon with you today?
Yes, sir.
Would you stand
Yes, sir.
in front of the jury if I could, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
You come here. You carried the same gun that Sergeant Morales would have been carrying that day?
Same gun, same holster.
Same holster?
Yes, sir.
So when you say secured, why don't you show them what's secured? Is that secured right now?
It is. This is a left-handed holster. It's on the right side, but it's the same system.
Okay.
It's a multiple mechanism. It's a retention holster. Can't get it out. The first thing we have to do is flip the holster down with the thumb. Then there's another button right here that unlocks a mechanism inside that allows me to release it, and I have to physically pull it out. So I have to release and pull. If I just release it, it'll stay in there. So
Okay.
It's a multi-retention holster.
So when Gary's body was removed from his car, was that thing in the covered position like that?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Once fire rescue arrived, fair to say everybody in St. Lucie County converged on this scene?
Yes, sir. There's a lot of people.
Okay. Ultimately, perimeter set up for crime scene and turned over to the detectives,
Yes, sir.
and that would have been the conclusion of your involvement in this case?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Glenn.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you, officer. You can step down one step, please.
We would release the lieutenant from his subpoena, Your Honor.
Give the defense to release him if he wants to. You're free to go, sir. You're welcome to stay if you wish. You all call your next witness, please.
Wade Tendle. Wade Tendle.
And come on up to the gate there, sir. Watch your step over those wires there. Come right up here, should place you under oath.
Do you swear or affirm that evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
My name is Wade Tendle. I'm a firefighter paramedic, St. County Fire District.
You can spell your last name, please.
Tindall.
And how long have you been with the fire district?
11 years.
And explain to the folks what it means to be a firefighter paramedic.
Protect and serve, life and property. That's our job.
And how are you assigned currently with the fire rescue?
Currently, I'm a firefighter paramedic.
And are you assigned to a specific station? How does it work with you guys?
Yes, sir. I'm at Station 8 right now. Typically, we're assigned to a station. Typically 2 units, maybe 3 units, meaning an engine or rescue. And we rotate. We may be on the rescue one day, we may be on the engine the next. Depends on who's there and what our staffing is.
And what's the difference?
The engine is well, now they're more geared to fire extinguishing of fire. They're advanced life support now, and so we have paramedics on them also. The rescue trucks are more for medical care and transport of patients to the emergency room.
Where were you assigned on February 28, 2013?
I was the third man on the engine, meaning there's an engineer that's always on the engine that drives and operates and pumps the truck on incidents. He's basically in charge of the functional part of the engine, and then there's an officer, which is a lieutenant or captain, and then there's a third man or woman that rides in the back jump seat of the engine, and that's where I was at.
What station were you assigned to that day?
Station 1.
And that's a pretty busy station?
Yes, sir. The busy station in the district.
And as the third man on the engine, what was your responsibility when the call came out?
I was a paramedic. On medical calls, I was a paramedic. You know, our goal was to get there as soon as possible, so on most calls, I would be the paramedic on the engine and do medical care, awaiting a rescue unit or transport. That day, medical care for that particular call was my responsibility.
And
on the engine.
Where is Station 1 located?
It's on Rhode Island. It would be between 25th Street and 23rd Street, I believe, just west of Longwood Hospital.
From the time you got dispatched to the time you got to the scene on Naylor Drive, how much time do you think passed?
I don't know for sure. I don't know.
We're talking minutes?
Minutes, yes, sir.
When you got to the scene, was your engine the first vehicle there, or was the ambulance, the rescue vehicle?
The rescue vehicle was just, we went there together as a crew, as a pair. I mean, we were right behind the rescue the whole time. So we arrived pretty much simultaneously.
And did you all step into doing your duties when you got there?
Yes, sir.
What did you see when you got to the scene?
I seen that when the rescue truck was in front of us, I seen the patrol car, several patrol cars, deputies, and I got out and went to the patrol car where the deputies were surrounding. Our battalion chief also was there, and went to help paramedic Ramsey at the door of the car.
Was there anything that struck you about the men standing around the car, law enforcement men that day, that stands out for you?
Yeah, they were crying, upset.
When you...
Big guys, upset.
When you got to the deputy's vehicle, the St. Lucie Sheriff's Office vehicle, where the other paramedic was just seconds ahead of you?
Yes, sir.
When you got there, what did you see?
I saw Deputy Morales, driver's seat, head back. One obvious bullet hole to his center of his neck, and 1 foot hanging out of the car, door open, and the deputies there, next to him,
did you, what action did you take once you saw what was going on?
The only action I know how, pulled him out.
You mentioned that 1 foot was out the door. Explain to the members of the jury how you had to position yourself to get him out.
I had to reach over him. I'd step around his foot, pretty much that foot that was out of the door was between my legs. And I had to reach in to grab his I guess his gun belt and his shirt and pulled him out. We brought the stretcher right to the door and put him out on the backboard. My crew was there to receive him from me and bring him onto the stretcher.
Now, while you were in the car with him, you said there was one obvious wound that you saw.
Well, while I was in the car, when I first walked up, there was one obvious wound to his neck. But when
What was that on his neck, if you could indicate?
center mass.
When you reached in, how were his hands positioned?
They were down to his side.
And did you said you grabbed him by his belt and then his shirt?
Yes, sir.
Could you feel his bulletproof vest underneath?
Yes, sir.
What did you do once you got him out to the out of the car? Well, let me stop and go back for a second. When you say you grabbed him there and pulled him out, did you have help of other members of your operation?
We try to maintain C-spine mobilization. So I didn't need much help at the moment. But I took him out, and then my lieutenant was there to render C-spine immediately. And then obviously to help us slide him onto the stretcher. It was dirt, grass, so we had to hold the stretcher also to keep it from moving as we slid him on. So there was a little help there, but
When you say you didn't mean knee mesh up, you meant your adrenaline was pumping.
I was pretty pumped, yeah.
Once you got him onto the stretcher there, what did you do?
I noticed his arm was broke, and so I positioned up on the stretcher so it wouldn't fall off, and I ripped his shirt off, took his vest off, and put a monitor on him immediately. We began compressions, and the three of us, I think including, the three of us that were there, I think maybe the four of us on my crew, strapped him onto the stretchers immediately and began care and ran to the truck with him down the dirt road.
Now, during that time when you were doing the compressions, and starting from when you first saw him, were there any signs of life in Sergeant Morales?
No, sir.
You said that the four of you, or three or four of you, had to pick up the stretcher because of the dirt road?
Yes, sir. Correct.
And you got him, where'd you take him once you picked him up and moved him along?
To the rescue truck, loaded him in the back of the truck, the rear of the truck, as we normally do.
When you got him in the back of the truck, did you notice something that you needed to resolve before you moved on?
Yeah, we have a policy that didn't have no loaded weapons or no firearms, and his weapon was still in his holster and in place. And I don't know which deputy it was, but there was a deputy in the back of the truck with me, so I turned to him and said, we didn't move this gun. I don't want to bump it. I don't want it to go off, so we need to get it out.
And when you say that it was in its holster in place, it was completely locked in the holster?
Absolutely. Yeah, I had to hold the holster while he unsnapped it, and he pulled the gun out.
Right, because it was pretty tight quarters with all of you in the...
Well, and also it was the gun was on his right side, so that's against the wall of the rescue, so it was tight there, and he had to reach across me along with CPR in progress, and I was attempting to get IV access and everything, so it was, yeah.
So you held the holster to help the other deputy remove the gun?
Correct. I held the bottom of it while he pulled it out and unsnapped it.
You mentioned that there was an injury to Sergeant Morales' arm. Were you able to determine was there any other evidence of that other than his arm seemed to be broken?
No, sir. I didn't know if it was the exit wound from a bullet hole in his neck. I didn't know exactly why his arm was broke.
and I know you were focused on a lot of things there in the ambulance. Did you, when you got to the hospital, did you see any other injuries on Sergeant Morales?
The trauma surgeon, when I brought him into the ER, told me he had a bullet wound to the head, and
I'll sustain the objection as to what he was told by the surgeon.
Yes, sir. Without what they told you, once you spoke with the person.
Yes, sir. I did notice a bullet wound to his head. Yes, sir.
And was that inside the area?
He had black hair. He had black hair, so the hole was covered by the hair. Yes, sir.
No other questions?
Mr. Glenn? Can he be excused, or you'll need him to stay?
Yes, sir, we would excuse him and release him from the subpoena, Your Honor.
Okay, with the defense to release him? It's okay to release him? Thank you, sir, very much. You're free to go. You're welcome to stay, of course, if you wish.
Your Honor, at this time, the people of the state of Florida would call Kevin Lindstad.
Sir, thanks for bearing with us. Come right up here, Ms. Leslie, place you under oath.
Do you swear upon the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Good afternoon. I'm Master Deputy Kevin Lindstad.
And, sir, how are you presently employed?
I'm a Deputy Sheriff with St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been with the St. Lucie County Sheriff's
I'm in my 30th year of service.
What do you do there?
Currently, I'm assigned to the training unit. I am charged with the training of the law enforcement deputies, mainly 297 of them, for in-service training, education, things like that.
All right. Can you tell me, as a part of your training, are you also responsible for instructing them on the appropriate handling and use of their firearms?
I do.
And does that include securing firearms in the holsters that are issued by your agency?
Correct.
All right. I'm going to take you back to February 28, 2013 and ask you if you were on duty that day.
I was.
And can you tell me what your assignment would have been that particular morning?
I have to go back a little bit here. I am a 20-year canine handler. I still am responsible for the maintenance and responsibilities of a canine handler. I still have a dog, and we're responsible for training and the things that the dog does. I was in training that morning. There was nothing going on at my training facility that day. I was literally heading to the office to do some paperwork when I heard the pursuit call out.
All right. Do you take the dog with you every day?
My dog is with me every day.
Oh, yeah? Where's your dog today?
He stayed home today. It's a hot day out there.
All right. So on this particular day, you had your dog?
My dog was with me, yes, sir.
All right. And you hear a call out that involves a chase. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So what would that mean to you as a canine handler?
Typically, chases end up with car crashes and bad guys running away. I'm a canine handler. I'm there to chase bad guys with my dog.
Okay. And so when you heard Sergeant Morales call out this chase, did you begin to respond to that area?
I did.
From where?
I was literally in front of the sheriff's office on Midway Road.
All right. And as you're responding, are you monitoring the radio traffic on Channel 1?
I am.
Okay. And do you learn before you arrived that they had apprehended the suspect in Sergeant Morales' killing?
I had.
All right. Where did you go?
Initially, I went to the scene of the apprehension, King Orange and Oleander, Georgia Oleander in that area. Then I went around to the north side of the scene of the shooting.
All right. And when you you say the north side of the scene of the shooting? The jurors have now gotten pretty familiar with this photograph to your left, 8. Are you talking about the north end of, well, I shouldn't say the north end, but north up on Naylor, where Canner is?
I would have come from Canner, southbound on Naylor to the scene.
Okay. And did you actually drive down south on Naylor?
I did, sir.
All right. And were there other deputies on scene already at that time?
Yes, there were.
And was fire rescue on scene?
Not initially.
All right. Did fire rescue arrive shortly after you got there?
Shortly after I arrived, yes, sir.
Did you, before fire rescue arrived, did you observe Sergeant Morales in his vehicle?
I did, sir.
And could you see from your vantage point of Sergeant Morales as he was in his vehicle, could you see his firearm, his sidearm at that time?
I could not.
Now, we just got done talking to the paramedic. We know that they removed him from the car, removed some of his I guess, his body armor or his vest.
Correct.
And then transported him to an ambulance, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Did you see that?
I did, sir.
All right. And at some point in time, were you directed to go to that ambulance to recover something from Sergeant Morales' body?
I was.
Okay, can you tell the jury what that was?
I was directed by our investigators on scene to retrieve Sergeant Morales' firearm from his equipment. I went to the ambulance, entered the ambulance, and told the paramedics what I was there for. I defeated the safety features on his holster. They gave me a biological hazard bag to secure it in, and I retrieved his firearm, put it in the biological hazard bag, and essentially turned it over to investigators.
Okay, so the firearm that you removed from Sergeant Morales' body was ultimately turned over to the detective in this case?
Correct.
All right. Now, if you could just stand in place, I think the jury kind of knows, but you said defeated the safety mechanisms?
Yes, sir.
I just want to be clear, you are the one who removed Sergeant Morales' firearm, is that correct? All right. Did somebody assist you in the hold on to the gun or whatever, hold on to the gun belt or something within the...
The paramedic stabilized the bottom of the holster while I defeated the safety features.
And why would somebody have to do that?
It was just a little awkward. Sergeant Morales was laying on a gurney, and I was kind of leaning over him.
Okay, so the safety features, is your holster, would it be the same as Sergeant Morales' holster?
The exact holster that Sergeant Morales would have been wearing that day.
Okay, and what are the safety features you referred to?
There's a hood. The first thing to defeat is a hood. You'll notice the holster itself, the hood is the strap going over the top of it. The hood defeats by pushing down and forward. Once it's disengaged, your hand is pretty much in the grip of the gun. There's a feature on the side that's underneath my thumb that you probably can see from the side here, that's called an ALS, that's auto locking system. And what it is that once the hood is forward and your thumb hits the auto locking system, it disengages the lock from the weapon itself inside the holster, and you're able to pull the weapon out of the holster.
Okay, now, and you're in training. We know now from talking to Detective Wentz earlier this morning or yesterday or whatever, that Sergeant Morales also was a training officer deputy at some point in time, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, pursuant to training and how you train and how law enforcement officers in your agency are trained, at what point in time in an encounter with a citizen are you supposed to flip that hood?
It's one fluid motion.
I understand that, but when would you be doing that?
When you're faced with a lethal threat.
Okay. So you wouldn't be flipping that hood and pushing those buttons until you're going to pull that gun out and draw down on someone?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay. You can take your seat. And again, the firearm you removed from Sergeant Morales' body in that ambulance was turned over to detectives, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Nothing further?
Defense wish to inquire?
No question.
Okay. Thank you, sir, very much. You can stay down.
We would release him, Your Honor.
Okay with the defense to release him? You're free to go, sir. Thank you. Welcome to stay of course if you wish.
Your Honor, at this time, the people of the state of Florida would recall Detective Wentz.
Why don't you go ahead and take your seat on the same oath we administered to you earlier.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Would you just please restate your name for the record?
Ronald Wentz, W-E-N-T-Z.
Okay, Detective. We spoke with you yesterday and then earlier again this morning. And I think where we left off this morning, you had arrived back on scene and you showed the ladies and gentlemen, or you discussed with the ladies and gentlemen during the scene as it was discovered upon law enforcement's arrival after Sergeant Morales' killing, correct?
That's correct.
We just heard from Master Sergeant Deputy Lindstad with your agency that he removed Sergeant Morales' firearm from his holster and that he turned it over to detectives in this case. Did you take possession of this firearm from Deputy Lindstad?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to show you, I don't know if you have a knife or scissors or something. Here's some scissors. States Exhibit 27, just ask me if you recognize that.
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell us what that is?
Sergeant Morales' gun.
Is that the firearm that you received in this case that was recovered from Sergeant Morales the day of his killing?
Yes, it is.
Okay, please open the box. Well, I'll offer it in evidence to States Exhibit 27.
We're talking about the gun's already been admitted.
The gun?
It's already been admitted.
No, that was Detective Bennett.
Beg your pardon. Oh, okay, admitted without objection to States 27.
Thank you.
Obviously with firearms and firearms issued by your agency, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, the firearm that you're now looking at that's been identified as Sergeant Morales' gun, is that a standard issued firearm by the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, it is.
What kind of gun is it?
It's a Glock Model 21.
Is that a revolver or a pistol, whatever, semi-automatic or what?
Semi-automatic handgun.
All right. And can you tell the ladies and gentlemen jury again, same deal, the ammunition that's in it, the issued ammunition, the spear, bonded bullets or whatever?
Yes, sir. It's Spear Gold Dot bonded ammunition.
All right. And how many, so this firearm operates by inserting a magazine and then the bullets cycle through as you shoot it?
That's correct.
How many bullets can you fit in the magazine?
13.
And when fully loaded, how many bullets are in the gun, or cartridges?
14.
All right. When that firearm was turned over to you, did you take an opportunity to examine it?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What is actually in that particular box?
The handgun, the flashlight that was attached to the handgun, the magazine with the live rounds that were in the handgun,
All right.
and 1 round of ammunition out of the chamber.
Okay. So, this is the magazine here?
Yes.
Okay, let's just hold this up for just a second. Okay, this is Sergeant Morales' firearm?
Yes.
All right. And what did you say that is?
That is the round that was in the chamber.
Okay, so take that out of there if you would. And can you open that? Okay, put that here. That's one.
Yes.
Take the magazine out. Hold that up for the jury so they can see that. So again, that would be inserted in the gun?
Yes.
Okay? Please start removing unfired bullets from Sergeant Morales' firearm. That's 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11, 12, gun hold any more bullets?
No.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Defense? Officer, if you wouldn't mind gathering all that, just collect it and put it back together so that
Just put them in the box and we'll do this later.
Thank you. Your Honor, we have no further questions of this witness, and we would release him from the subpoena as well.
okay with the defense to release him? Okay, thank you, officer. You're free to go. You're welcome to stay if you wish.
Well, you know what, we don't intend to call him back, but it is a potential, so I guess we'll just...
Okay, you can leave a number where they can reach you if they need you.
Yes.
Do you have another quick witness, or you want to call it a day?
It's Friday, I think we all worked pretty hard this week, so I would have no objection to breaking 15 minutes early.
Members of the jury, I thank you for your attention this week and your patience with us. I'm going to go ahead and let you go for the weekend. Between now and Monday, please do not discuss this case among yourselves, allow anyone to discuss it in your presence or fix any opinions as to the merits of the case. Do not read or listen to media accounts about this until after your deliberations are finished. And please don't visit any of the scenes that are described in the evidence. You can leave your notepads there. They'll be there for you when you come back. Make sure you get all your things out of the back room. You all have a nice weekend. If you'll come back Monday at 8:45, please. Watch your steps stepping down. Jury's being excused. Okay, thank you. If you'll come back Monday at 8:45.
Just for planning purposes, so you know, we probably anticipate that we will, as I thought, be done Monday afternoon. So I would, just put everybody on notice of that fact. We're right on schedule.
Thank you. You all have a nice weekend. We'll see you Monday at 8:45, please.